Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I want to talk with you about the Academic Commons. The Academic Commons is a partnership. It consists of the library, the Writing Center, the Peer-Tutoring Program, and accommodation and accessibility services. All of these services are housed under one roof, the library building. And so you can come here and conveniently meet all of the needs you might have as a scholar or as a researcher. So I'm back at the library's homepage here. I'm going to point out a couple of more library services before I go to talk about the Writing Center, Peer-Tutoring Program, and accessibility services. I want you to see readily how you can access these services or reach out to them to schedule appointments. So I'm going to scroll down here past the central search box, which we have used for Wofford OneSearch, Pascal delivers, and databases. And I see here under services for students, research help by subject or course. And you can click here on that link and you get a list of all of our academic disciplines or majors on campus. If you scroll down here, you'll see FYI. And what you have here readily is a list showing you, all right, here is the library guide for that discipline. Let me go up to look at a guide by a colleague of mine. I'll say Emily Witzel. She is another research librarian here at Wofford College. She happens to be the liaison for English. And so I would have her library guide for the English department. I would have her email and I would have the link to schedule an appointment with her. So if ever you're wondering which librarian is the best for this department or for this course I'm taking, you can go to this list to determine that. I'm going to go for a minute to Emily's guide for English. And you see here, finding articles, stories, essays. If I click here, I'm looking at databases that are specific to English. And so this can save you a lot of time. Of course, you can always consult Emily or another librarian on staff to be directed to the best resources in English. But this guide helps you get to those readily for wherever you may be studying on campus or off. So I'm going to go back to this list. I'm going to scroll back to the library's homepage. And I'm going now to take a quick look at citing sources. You have right under research help by subject or course, a link to citing sources. So I click on that link and I'm given all of the citation style guides that scholars use. Here at the top is the one for the American Psychological Association. If you're taking a psychology course here at Wofford, this is going to be your guide. I can scroll down the APA pocket size. You've got different versions of, but you'll note that in almost every instance with these guides, you have an online version. And usually we go to Purdue University's online writing lab, otherwise known as OWL, to provide an online version. Here's the Chicago Manual of Style, MLA, ACS, the Style Guide for Political Science. I'm going to scroll back up here to MLA because it is the most popular guide, and it is the guide that you're going to be using in your humanities classes, in your English 102 classes. So let's take a peek at it. Here you have a call number letting you know that this is something, a book that we have in our physical collection. So if you wanted to go look at the physical copy, you're told where that is, and the person here in the library would be, and the staff person would be happy to help you find it. But more often than not, you're going to want to use the online. So let's click here on the Purdue University version. And so I can scroll down and I get this table of contents for the MLA handbook. As I'm scrolling through here, I'm going to get pop-up windows asking me if I want help or assistance in online tutorial, I can X out of that and then go on to look at the section of the MLA guide that interests me. So here I have a section for how to cite books, periodicals, which is a fancy word for journals or magazines or newspapers, electronic resources. I'm given here information on basic formatting. But let's say I've got a book that I need to know how to cite. And so I could click here on the book section of this guide. I could scroll down, and it's going to give me a basic format for a book. Last name of author, first name, title in italics, city of publication, comma, publisher, comma, publication date. But if I scroll down here, I'll see that I have different formats for different types of books. I have a format for a book by one author, a format for a book by more than one author, a format for a book that is by a corporate author, let's say a group or a research institute collectively works on publishing a book. So I have all of these different examples here to go with. In this case, I've got a specific example. I have an actual title and an actual corporate group. I've got some more pop-ups here. I'm going to X out of that again. So I want you to see how easy it is to identify the type of resource you need to cite and then to find an example to work from. Here, I'll show you something that students like a lot. This is a sample works cited page. And it shows you how to format, how to indent, how to organize your different resources in a works cited page. Let me show you one more thing while we're here. This is a typical feature of these online guides. You have what is called a sample paper. And so if I click on sample paper, I go to a PDF version of a paper from title page to works cited completely in MLA form. So I see how to format, how to organize, how to perhaps title different sections of my paper, how to include graphs or figures, how to work with captions. All of that is given to me here in this sample paper. So there very quickly is a citation guide. These citation guides, again, are accessible to you from the library's homepage. The librarians and the Writing Center's staff can help you with citation questions. So you've got plenty of opportunities here in the library for assistance. So we've looked at research help by subject or course. We've looked at citing sources. Let me show you course reserves. Course reserves is a means by which you can determine what items are being held here in the library for you by a professor of a certain class. And so let's say I know that Professor Ken Banks is putting something on reserve for my class. I can type in Professor Banks's name, and I see here that this book, African Artists from 1882 to Now, is on reserve at the library's front desk for me. And so I could go to the front desk and check that reserve item out to use in the library building for 2 or 3 hours, at which point I would return the item to the front desk. I can check it out again if I needed to, but I would check it back in so that the next student coming in to use it would have access. Sometimes you'll have electronic resources put on reserve, which means you'll come here, you'll see that online items are available. You'll click on that online item, enter your My Walford credential, and have online access to it. But again, this course reserves page enables you to find out what your professor has on reserve. You can search by course instructor. You can also look under course name or even course department. So you have different ways. Typically, the items on reserve are put on reserve under the professor's name and the title of the course. All right, so I'm going to go back to the library's homepage. And then last, as far as the library services I'm going to show you in this video, here you have a print, scan, or copy or fax page giving you instructions on how to print documents either from a computer in the library or from your laptop. You're given instructions on how to scan images to your email. With regard to printing, we have the experts on the printers at the library's front desk. The library staff and the students are trained in the details of how to operate the printers. We librarians, I, for instance, can help too, but the folks at the front desk are the experts. We have printers, some for color. And so if you're doing something, say for art history, or you have a fancy graph, the folks at the front desk can direct you to the right printer. Typically, when you go to print, you'll say, send the job to the student printer. And then when you go to that printer, you'll use your Wofford ID to scan in your code, or you can enter your My Wofford credentials. And thus you have a print job that you can release at that printer. So our print system enables you to go to any printer on campus, use that printer to pull up your document and then print from there. So you can send your job and travel to whichever printer you desire to do the actual printing. So there, very quickly, our instructions on printing. We also have a fax machine, should you ever need one of those. I'm going to go back to the library's home. I'm now going to go to the partners with whom the library is working to form the academic commons. I'm going to start off with the Writing Center. The Writing Center is on the main floor of the library, and it collaborates very closely with us research librarians. If I'm working with a student and I see that he needs or she needs some work as far as organizing the paper, I'll find the research the student needs, and I'll walk with the student over, direct the student to the Writing Center. Vice versa, the Writing Center may be working with the student on the structure of a paper and may help the student realize that he or she needs more information on a topic. And so the student comes and visits with a research librarian. But here you see the times when the writing lab is available. You have instructions as to what to expect, how to prepare. You typically come in, meet with a Writing Center staff person in person, and then your subsequent visits or your later work with that staff person can be via Zoom or via email, but typically that first encounter needs to be in person. The Writing Center has some tutorials on how to avoid plagiarism. On your FYI library guide, I have these tutorials and some additional ones, including a tutorial offered by Professor Clayton Wisnett of our history department. He makes concerns about plagiarism specific to you as a Wofford student. But I wanted you to know of these resources here offered by the Writing Center. By the way, the Writing Center has students who have demonstrated excellence as writers, and they come from different disciplines, not just English. They come from history, humanities, some of the sciences even. And so you sometimes will find in a Writing Center assistant, not only someone who writes well, but someone who knows the ins and outs of your specific department or class. Final thing I'll say about the Writing Center, the very best students on this campus make use of its services. They also make use of the services of peer tutoring. So let's go now to peer tutoring. To go to peer tutoring, I'm going to go to the My Wofford page. So I'm clicking here in the top right-hand corner of the library's page. I'm entering my Wofford credentials. And then I want to click here on Student tab. And here I have the Peer Tutoring and Learning assistance program. And so I can readily come here, identify the department I want tutoring in. I can click, say, on biology, and I'll get all of the classes for which tutoring is offered, and I'll see to the specific students available for tutoring in that particular class or course, and I'll have those students' email addresses. The library has some group study rooms that are used in the evening for peer tutoring in biology, chemistry, math, and physics. Different departments are going to have you meet in different spaces. Oftentimes, you have the option of meeting wherever is most convenient for you, and the library typically is a place of a choice as far as the student or the tutor is concerned. As I said about the Writing Center tutors, the peer tutoring students are going to give you information not only about classes, but they'll be able to give you some tips on how to study, how to prepare for certain professors. We have excellent professors here, but different professors have different styles or different emphases. And sometimes the students can help make you alert to those. If ever you come to this page and do not see the class that you need tutoring in, speak with the tutoring program director, and that person will try to pair you up with someone in that discipline as soon as possible. So I'm going to go back to the student tab, and I'm going to scroll down here to accessibility services. And I'll be very brief in my comments here. We have in the basement or on the bottom floor of the library, the Accessibility Services Center. It's directed by Sandy Hammett. So if you're coming here to the library for a special space in which to take a test or to have a test monitored so that you can spend a certain amount of time with the questions on the exam, you'll oftentimes go downstairs to her office. But if you need anything in the way of assistance with technology, she's the person to consult. Here you have this link to submit accommodations requests. And so if you need accommodations and haven't had a chance to register for them, this is the place to do it. You would simply click on this form, submit that, and Sandy Hammett would get back with you to go through the details of attaining certification or privileges with regard to whatever it is you needed assistance with. And again, you have her email address and her phone number here. So there, folks, in a nutshell, is your academic commons. You'll find students working here using any number of services. And so it's just a delight to see you folks coming to recognize this space as home. I look forward to seeing you in person soon. I have one more video created by some colleagues of mine. It is a very quick virtual tour of the library. When you come to visit in person, we'll be taking a tour of the place, but this virtual tour may go into a little more detail in some respects than I will be going into with you in person. Thanks for your attention. You take care. I look forward to meeting you in person soon. Bye.